I'm Cathy Thomas. Henry Pineda, Executive Chef-Owner of Lola's by MFK and Pancitas by MFK in Anaheim, joins me to put his spin on modern Filipino cuisine. He's preparing pancit, made with 2 types of noodles. Glorious, downright irresistible. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you for having me.
I'm just delighted that you're here, and you're doing a classic Filipino dish, pancit. Tell me about your version.
Yes, so pancet is a very classic Filipino dish. For what we're doing here, we're actually using 2 types of pancet noodles. It's kind of like an Italian dish where the dish is kind of named after the noodles. So here we have pancet bihon and pancet canton. This one right here is a cornstarch noodle, and this one is made out of wheat flour.
There's going to be lots of vegetables.
Yeah, lots of vegetables, lots of texture. You get a little fat, a little acid, sweet, and kind of just brings everything together.
Let's get started.
So we're gonna oil our pan, make sure it's nice and hot. And we always like to start off with onions and garlic. That's my favorite thing, kind of build anticipation in the room. Get it going. I like to use half of it for right now in the beginning and then a little bit half towards the end just to add a little more texture to the dish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We don't throw them in at exactly the same time, just since the garlic is minced, it doesn't burn.
And you've got it on low heat now.
Yes. So for me, when I cook, I feel like something that a lot of people don't do is kind of play with the fire. Turning it high, turning it low, kind of depending on what the pan tells you. Then we'll get the garlic we have minced already.
You're not shy with that garlic.
Well, we are not shy with garlic over here.
That's a lot of garlic.
Yeah. And that's not the only time we're going to throw it in this dish either.
So I understand this is a dish that often is served at birthday parties.
Yes, so this dish is served a lot celebrations, birthday parties, and holidays, and the reason being is they correlate good luck, fortune, and money with the long noodles. So the longer the noodle, the more life and the more fun you get.
Yeah, I'm going to be eating a big bowl today.
Handful of carrots. Some celery.
And you've just cut that celery so beautifully.
These snap peas already have been blanched.
Love the colors.
We're just kind of bringing everything together, layering the flavors.
It's beautiful. And the cabbage is shredded thinly.
Yes.
Let's talk about the noodles. They've been soaked?
Yes, we have 2 noodles, and before cooking them, we like to soak them for a little bit. The smaller noodles, which is called pancet bihon, it's made out of cornstarch, it's really thin, and it actually takes a little bit longer to soak. So we let that sit for about 20 minutes. And then the second noodle we have is called pancet canton, and it's made out of wheat flour. It's a thicker noodle, kind of gives a more of a gummier texture. And that one soaks for a lot less, maybe about half the time, about 10 minutes.
Right.
If you're ever making it at home, you could actually use either one, or you can use both of them, kind of just a preference, you know?
I like the idea of using both.
Yeah, get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So once the vegetables are done, we'll kind of just set them in our bowl to the side. Add a little more oil, kind of has like the little residue of the flavor in there. A little more onions, just to add a little more flavor to the noodles. A little bit more garlic, but you're definitely not shy with this. My grandfather used to always say there can never be enough garlic in Filipino food. Then once it gets to a nice color, then we're gonna start throwing in our noodles.
Okie dokie.
We're putting in the pancet bihon noodles, the cornstarch noodles. From there, we're gonna add the pancet canton, and this is the noodle that's made with the wheat flour and coconut oil. But there is no coconut flavor.
They're happy to take on those onions and that garlic. Ah.
And sometimes if you feel the noodles are sticking a little bit too much, you can always just add a little bit more oil on the edges. But wait, there's more. So we have our pre-mixed broth that we usually like to use for our noodles. And in here we have a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of toyo mansi, which is a soy sauce mixed with the Filipino lemon called calamansi. And we also have unagi sauce, which is eel sauce, which isn't normally typically found, but that's something for us that adds a nice little je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. And how do you know you've added enough?
You know, you just wait for your ancestors to tell you to stop.
Ah.
When the noodles are kind of close to being done, I like to switch over to a spatula just so the noodles don't break as much as if you were using tongs or anything else. One of the citruses we like to use in this dish is straight from the Philippines, and it is called calamansi. If you don't have this, a lemon works very well as a substitute.
But you want to add a little acidity.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're gonna get this and mix it in with our cooked vegetables. If you have a big enough pan, you can throw it all in together. But if not, no problem. You always work with what you have. You just kind of just start mixing and folding everything in. If you want a little more crunch, a little more texture, I like these thin strips of cabbage we have. I like to kind of toss it in towards the end. And the steam kind of softens up a little bit, but just still gives you a nice little crunch and texture. A little more pepper. It's another small drizzle. Awesome, and I think now we're ready to plate. We can get this served up. In our family, you never know who's gonna show up. So every time we cook, as much as we wanna cook just for maybe a few people, we always have to kind of be ready and just cook for a handful. Because if nobody comes, you can always eat it for later.
Yeah, I bet this is delicious leftover.
Every time. And we're gonna finish off this dish with a little bit of fried shallots. You can either use these, fry them up yourself, or like the French's onions, a little bit of green onion. I love using microgreens. It's kind of, I feel sometimes of a cheat code. It really adds a nice touch.
And it's a nice flavor contrast too, because they have a little bit of bitterness to them, which gives you just one more tiny bit of element.
Yes. Our last touch.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful, Chef.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
One of my favorite things to make.
I'm so pleased you shared it with us. Here's a quick tip from Melissa's. Tsunamono, Japanese-style cucumber salad, is a light and refreshing side dish and starter. It's a simple dish that boasts appealing flavors and welcoming texture. I like to make a double batch, leftovers to snack on. First, the cucumbers are salted and weighted in a colander. Weight them with a zipper-style bag filled with ice. Allow it to drain for an hour. Rinse those beauties with cold water and pat dry thoroughly. You can skip the salting step, but the dressing won't absorb quite as well. The dressing, easy peasy, seasoned rice vinegar, roasted sesame oil, maybe a pinch of dried red chili flakes, a topping of toasted sesame seeds. Done.